Mr. Art of the Deal is getting his ass kicked. I mean, completely mollywopped in the back of the head, suplexed through the ground like he's back on WWE. Trump would like to have you believing he's getting deals left and right thanks to these tariffs. What did he say? Like 70 plus countries have contacted him? Yeah, freaking right. Even though they refuse to name the countries they're negotiating with, well, except for one. And now we know why. Because that one country, China, just came out and flatly rejected the notion that Trump and China are in talks to have a trade deal. In fact, Trump is getting completely roasted on Chinese media right now because they can see that Trump just caved on his big bad act, and now is considered changing course on the tariffs, something that is otherwise known as chickening out. I want to thank you guys for supporting us here at Really American. Make sure to subscribe to join our little resistance here if you haven't already.
Trump chickened out. At least that is what the Chinese are saying. I mean, that post with the viral hashtag Trump chicken out now has 150 million views in China and counting, after Trump all but caved to Xi Jinping.
We are going to have a fair deal with China. It's going to be fair.
Are you talking to them actively now?
Actively. Everything's active.
Mr. President, has there been any direct contact between the U.S. and China for trade at all?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And
every day.
Every day and active. I mean, you know, the implication here, what it sounds like is there's a big deal. It's being worked on. Things are happening. We're moving forward.
The tit-for-tat childish raising of the tariffs wasn't enough to scare the Chinese away from the battleground because they understand what tariffs are. And now Trump was the first one to lower the tariffs due to the impact it's having on the U.S. economy.
Another harsh reality is that China called Mr. Trump's bluff and seems to have won this round. Beijing has also warned countries not to do trade deals with the United States that exclude China or else. With even U.S. allies facing Mr. Trump's tariff assault, Beijing's threat has resonated in a way that it never previously did. U.S. diplomatic sway is ebbing. The question going forward is whether Mr. Trump is internalizing these economic and political lessons or merely pausing to fight his trade war another day. We doubt even Mr. Trump knows the answer, since so much of his decision-making is ad hoc.
And the Republicans are twisting themselves into knots trying to spin this as a genius move by President Putt-Putt. They're claiming that Trump is expertly bringing China to the table and lowering the tariffs as a move in some sort of trade negotiation that they assume must be going on.
Look, as I've said from the very beginning, I think the tariffs are meant to be a short-term negotiating tool to negotiate with countries like Japan, like Korea, like India, like the EU, Canada, Mexico, and yes, China, to get better and fairer trade deals for the United States, to bring down barriers to entry to U.S. goods in those countries, as well as to eliminate things like price controls, that Europe has on U.S. prescription drugs, which, by the way, means that we are paying higher drug costs to subsidize Europe. So I think the objective was always, in large measure, to force renegotiation and get better trade deals. Obviously, and I've met with many folks, including economists from Deutsche Bank, for instance, earlier this week, as well as retail giants like Walmart last week. Of course, there is concern about some of the short-term, challenges as a result of this back and forth. But I think the long-term objective here, especially if the president is able to get agreements, and we saw yesterday the vice president speak out with respect to India. If we're able to get these agreements turned around quickly within the next 30 days or so, and you get the tax reconciliation bill done, as I've said from the beginning, the economy is going to take off, and that will be extremely good for every American.
They're so confident that they can sell this as one of Trump's 40 chess moves that this man seriously opened his mouth to say that Trump backing down is some sort of Jedi mind trick.
In your opinion, it does look like President Trump's dialing it back, but why is he doing so?
Well, I think he's doing so because he's seen the effect on not only the stock markets, but more importantly, the bond markets. And so I think that he wants to appease investors. You know, a lot of people who don't like President Trump has said that he folded first. I'm not so sure that's the case. This could very well be just a Jedi mind trick that we have seen the president use in other contexts. So this is, I'm not sure that we are witnessing a putting the cards down on the table. But I do think, though, that President Trump wants to sort of buy some time in order to stitch together a trade deal with Beijing, which of course he wants. But I'm not so sure he's going to get in these circumstances, especially if the Chinese think that he blinked. So that's going to make them even more intransigent.
The only mind trick here is whatever Rupert Murdoch is injecting into the minds of divorced dads and neurotic Karens over on his network. Back here in reality, it's clear that Trump is lowering the tariffs due to the fact that he's single-handedly causing a recession that has the potential to get even worse. But the best part about all of this is that China isn't letting Trump control the narrative here. They're flat out saying that Trump is lying, that there is no trade negotiations happening at all. Chinese Commerce Ministry spokesman He Yadong earlier Thursday at a regular briefing in Beijing dismissed speculation that progress has been made in bilateral communications, saying any report on developments in talks are groundless and urging the U.S. to show sincerity if it wants to make a deal. He's literally calling Trump out for lying. The U.S. should respond to rational voices in the international community and within its own borders, and thoroughly remove all unilateral tariffs imposed on China if it really wants to solve the problem, he said. The remarks suggest that Trump's comments this week signaling that he could lower tariffs on China, which currently stand at 145% for most goods, will not be enough to de-escalate tensions. The U.S. leader said Wednesday that everything's active when asked if he was engaging with China and that Beijing was going to do fine once talks had started. Trump has tried to get Xi on the phone a number of times since he returned to office, but the Chinese leader has, so far, resisted. Beijing wants to see a number of steps from Washington before it will agree to trade negotiations, including showing more respect and naming a point person for the dialogue. China does not seem to be playing ball with Trump's game. How embarrassing for all of these Trumpers who have been convinced that this chaos is a part of a grand plan. I mean, they believe in Trump more than they do Jesus, but it's clear he's just lying. There is no art of the deal happening here. He's backing down and trying to cover his ass by saying that there's some sort of behind-the-scenes deal being cooked up, when the only thing that's cooked here is Trump after the effects of these tariffs are priced in. I'm Tony Hinderman with Really American, and I'll catch you next time.